Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today is another 5 meals video for you. Pretty typical meals around our house, nothing super special or super fancy, but I know you guys like to see this and I hope that it gives you some meal inspo. So let's get started on those 5 meals. Hello my friends, dinner tonight is going to be ham loaf. Normally I like to serve ham loaf with sweet potatoes, but I do not have any, and Aldi was out of them. So, yeah, we're gonna have mashed potatoes instead. Anyway, in my bowl, I have 1.5 pounds of ham loaf mix. What ham loaf mix is ground pork and ground ham mixed together. I get it up in Lancaster. I can also get it from a local butcher. So, not sure if it's something available in your area, but if it's not, you can just do half ground pork and half ground ham, and that'll work. So I have 1.5 pounds of my ham loaf mix, and to that I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, plain breadcrumbs. And then we're going to do 2 eggs. Ooh, that was a hot mess, wasn't it? I didn't expect the shell of that egg to be so thin. I think it's one of our new girls' eggs. Let me go clean this up. Okay, no harm, no foul. Like I said, I think that was one of the new girls. They just started, a couple of them just started laying, and sometimes their shells can be very thin in the beginning. I think that was the case, because it was a little on the small side too. The next thing we're gonna do is 1.5 teaspoons of dry mustard. And 1 teaspoon of salt. We are going to mix these ingredients, and honestly, that's the best way I like to do it. I like to get in there with my hands and really get that mixed well. Okay, once that is all mixed, we are just going to pat it into our loaf pan. We've got our oven heating to 325. I generally use a loaf pan that's a little bit smaller than this. So this is going to be kind of a thin meatloaf or ham loaf. But honestly, this is the one that was up here. So I just went for it. It's fine. Usually I use an 8x4 and this is a 9x4. Okay. We're going to set that aside. I'm going to go wash my hand, and we're going to start on the topping. Okay, so this is where I veer off of the recipe. By the way, I got the recipe from our local pork butcher years and years and years ago. They have these little cards with their store on them, cooking hints, and that's where I got the recipe. So that's where it came from. But it calls for a small can of crushed pineapple, and honestly, we like it thick on there. So I use a whole can, but that's the only difference I do in the topping. Everything else I keep the same. So it's a can of crushed pineapple, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and 2 teaspoons of vinegar. We're going to give this a good stir. You know what? It just dawned on me. I usually drain this. It doesn't say to drain it on the instructions, but I usually drain this. Wouldn't be a cooking video, wouldn't be one of my cooking videos if I didn't screw something up. Be right back. Okay, I drained it. It'll be fine. And we are just going to pour that on top. Spread it out evenly over our ham loaf. And we're going to bake this for 1 hour at 325 degrees. Like I said, I think it's best served with some kind of veg, whatever you like. And sweet potatoes, it just goes perfect with it. But today we're just going to have to alter that a little bit. And I can't even run out and get them because my car is getting new shocks put on it. So we're just going to go with mashed potatoes. It'll be lovely. But there it is. There is our ham loaf. We're going to pop that in the oven. In true fashion, we all started yapping to each other about our day, and I forgot to pick up when the plate looked nice. But here is dinner, the ham loaf. This is what it looks like. And we're having mashed potatoes and peas. So that is dinner tonight. Hello, my friends. Dinner tonight is going to be creamy garlic, spinach, sausage, pasta, something like that. So in my pot over here, you can't see it, I've got water boiling to cook our pasta. We're going to cook a pound of pasta. And then in this skillet, I have 1 pound of loose ground sausage. And we are just going to cook that until it is all the way cooked through. And we want to, you know, really chop it up and get it nice and minced up. So they are the first steps. This is a super, super quick, easy, and very, very tasty meal. And usually it's stuff you have on hand. At least I do. In my fridge, freezer, and pantry. So I'm going to just let this cook. I'm going to continue to chop it up and get it nice and small because you want that sausage spread throughout the whole dish. So I'm just going to let that cook and then we'll be back. Okay, our sausage is almost all the way cooked through. So I am going to add in 3 cloves of garlic and just let that cook for about 30 seconds to a minute. And depending on how greasy your sausage is, you may want to blot it with a paper towel or drain it. This is very, very lean, so I am not going to have to do any of that. I just want to get that garlic cooked a little bit. And then we'll move on. Okay, next I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of half and half. You can use heavy cream if you like. I just prefer to use half and half. And just a couple tablespoons of butter. And we are going to let this simmer until the butter melts. And then we'll add in the rest of our ingredients. And that is how quick and easy this dinner is. Okay, that's been simmering. I turned it down a little too low. So now I'm going to add in a handful. It says 5 ounces of spinach. This is probably about 3 ounces, a little bit less, of spinach. I'm going to put the lid on and I'm going to cook this for another 3 to 4 minutes until the spinach is nice and wilted. And I just remembered, I like to chop the spinach. I don't like to keep it whole. But I forgot. So we're just going to go in there with a knife and cut it up a little bit. There we go. I just went in, chopped it up a bit. It'll be fine. I just kind of got a little off my game because Andrew walked in and we were discussing how his day went. So I'm going to let that cook for 3 to 4 minutes and we're going to put the rest of this together. Okay, next thing we're going to do is add in our Parmesan cheese. And stir that around till it melts. And then we're going to add in our pasta. And stir that until it is all coated. Whoops. And then that's it. That's all there is to it. You can serve it with a little more fresh Parmesan over the top. And that's all there is to our creamy sausage, garlic, and spinach pasta. It's very good. It's very filling. And it's super duper easy. So you just want to make sure that's really, really stirred around in there. You might want to put it in a bigger bowl and give it a better toss. I'm just going to kind of keep working here because we're going to serve it right out of this for a very informal dinner. It's absolutely delicious with some nice crusty bread. And there you have it. That, my friends, is dinner tonight. Hello, my friends. Dinner tonight is going to be Big Mac Sloppy Joes. And we are starting with a pound of ground beef in our skillet. And I'm going to add to that some chopped onion and cook that along with the beef. The original recipe calls for putting the onion in at the end, so it's raw in there, just like it would be on a Big Mac. But Doug does not stomach raw onions very well, so I just cook them in with the meat because he can handle cooked onions. So I am just going to let this cook, let the meat get nice and brown and cook through, and the onions nice and tender. While that's happening, I need to make some mayonnaise because I used all the mayonnaise when I made the Thousand Island dressing this morning. So we have to make up a quick mayonnaise. You've seen me do that before. And then we'll come back and add everything to our meat mixture. Okay, our meat is cooked and I drained off any fat. And to that, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise and 3/4 cup of Thousand Island dressing. I made that this morning. I meant to film it and I forgot. It's super easy, just a few ingredients. I'm going to stir that until all of our meat is coated. Next, we're going to add in a 1/2 cup of chopped dill pickle. I put a little more than a 1/2 cup in, not going to lie, because I like it pickly. And at this point, if you did not cook the onions in with the meat, if you want the raw onions, you add those in right now too. Okay, once our pickles are in, I had to take a little break because the baby woke up. So let's see if we can get this done while she's sitting here at my feet. We're going to add in 4 ounces of shredded cheddar. This is probably a little bit cold now. It's probably not going to melt as quickly as it normally would. So I turned it off to go get her. But you just want to stir that around until all the cheese melts. And then I'm just going to put a lid on this and put this aside until it's dinner time. And then we will serve it with shredded lettuce on some homemade buns. Normally I would serve French fries as a side with this, but I am not going to be here tonight when dinner is happening. Everybody, all four of us have somewhere different, well, sort of different to be. So everybody's going to be on their own, so I don't want to do fries. We're just going to have chips or something with it. I think that would be a fun side. So not the healthiest of side dishes, but it'll be fine. So there it is. That is it. That is our Big Mac Sloppy Joes. I'll show it to you on the plate. And here is our Big Mac Sloppy Joes. I have some shredded lettuce on there, and then my Sloppy Joe meat on one of my homemade burger buns. So that, my friends, is dinner tonight. Like I said, normally I serve it with a side of fries. Tonight we're just having some chips with it. Okay, tonight's dinner is chicken, broccoli, rice, crepes. We are going to start by making our crepes because this has to sit for a half an hour. So I have 2/3 cup of flour in my bowl. Then we're going to do 3/4 cup of milk. Then we are going to do 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Sorry about the timer going off. I have sandwich buns in the oven. And then to that, we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 3 eggs. We are going to give this a good whisk. And get all the lumps out. I should have sifted the flour, and I know that, and I didn't. So I'm just going to give this a good whisking for another minute or two just to make sure all the lumps are out. And then we're just going to set this aside and let the batter rest for about 30 minutes at room temperature. And we're going to get started on our filling. Okay, I have cooked chicken. I just kept it in my Instant Pot because that's where I cooked it, and then I shredded it up. Now, you're supposed to put onion in this, and honestly, we don't really like biting into the onion. So I'm just going to put in a little bit of onion powder for flavor. Not very much. And then we're going to add in some broccoli. 1.5 cups-ish of cooked broccoli. And then we're going to add in 1 cup of chicken gravy. I made this a little thick. I just took some chicken broth, added a little bit of bouillon for flavor, and a little too much cornstarch slurry. Did I use? Yeah, I used cornstarch. I didn't use arrowroot powder. That was empty. We're going to give that a mix. Then we're going to add in our 1 cup of rice. I think I'll add probably a little bit more gravy. Okay, 1 cup of rice. And I'm going to add a little bit more gravy. I did a quart of chicken broth. Okay, that looks good. Now we're just going to set this aside. And we are going to start on our crepes. And we are going to get started on our crepes. I have my pan heating and a little bit of butter in there. Now, as you continue to make crepes, you're going to have to keep turning it down because the pan does get, hotter and hotter. We're going to take a 1/4 cup of batter, swirl it in there, and then swirl it around the pan. Pan wasn't quite hot enough. It should start cooking pretty much immediately. So it wasn't quite hot enough, but we're going to let that cook on that side. And when it starts looking dry and the edges start to curl, we're going to give it a flip and cook the other side. When you're making sweet crepes, you can use the same batter, but I like to add just a tablespoon or 2 of sugar to it because it makes the crepe a little sweet for your sweet filling. You can see the edges starting to curl. This one's a little thick. Always takes a couple to get kind of in the groove, but I'm just going to let that cook a little bit. You want them to get a little bit golden brown, so I probably did flip this a little too early. Because you really only want to flip it once. I said to only flip them once, but that other side wasn't quite done. So this is kind of what you want it to look like. Just a little bit of brown on there. And nice and dry. And then I'm just going to transfer it right to a plate. Set it aside, and we're going to get started on the next one. I'm going to let that cook, give it a flip, and then we're just going to go through all the batter, and once they're all done, we will assemble our crepes. The nice thing about this recipe is you can make it ahead of time. Like if you have time in the morning, make it ahead and just put it aside. I did not have time, so I am making it right before dinner. This is also a recipe I like to take when I need to do a meal train, because most of the time people like all the ingredients that are in it, and then they can just pop it in the oven when they want to eat it, or you can take it cooked. It doesn't matter, whichever. I know certain families prefer certain things, but this recipe was given to, or this dish was given to us for a meal train. I forget what for. I forget what we had a meal train. I don't remember if it was when my mom was sick, like that final week, or I know it was before Doug's cancer. I don't remember, but anyway, maybe it was one of the babies. I don't know, but somebody gave us this, my good friend Marissa, and I got the recipe from her immediately because we enjoyed it so much. And like I said, it's a really great dish for a meal train. So I'm gonna let that cook, and then we're just gonna keep on going, and we'll get this assembled. Okay, our crepes are all made, so now we are just going to fill them. We're just gonna take some of our filling, put it right down the middle, roll it up. And then we're going to put it in a 9 by 13 dish. And I have a little bit of gravy on the bottom of that dish to keep it from sticking. And we are just going to continue along until they are all done. Now, it is a very tight fit in the pan. So you have to make sure you put them nice and close together. So I'm going to go finish those up and I'll show you what to do at the end. Okay, our crepes are all in the pan. So now I'm just going to take our remaining gravy and pour that right over top. If you're going to use like some jar gravy, get like 2 24-ounce jars. That'll be enough. And if you don't like broccoli, substitute something else. The original recipe actually was made with peas, not broccoli. So there we go. There's our crepes. We are going to bake them uncovered at 350 for 30 minutes. And here is our chicken, broccoli, rice crepes. I'll show you the inside. And that is what is dinner tonight. Hello, my friends. Dinner tonight is going to be baked chicken stroganoff. It's a new recipe for me. It looked good, sounded good, and I needed something today that could be made ahead because I am not going to be here to put dinner in the oven. So if I make this casserole, whoever comes home first can pop it right in the oven. So first thing we're going to do, we have a little olive oil in our pan. We're going to add in a medium onion, diced, and we are going to cook this until it's soft and translucent. So probably about 5-6 minutes. And I do it on a medium low. I don't want the onion to burn, but I want it cooked through. So it's all about patience. So we're going to let that cook and come back for step 2. Okay, our onions are looking really good. So now we're going to add in some mushrooms. The original recipe calls for 2 cups. I'm doing a pound. We really like mushrooms, and they cook down so much. So I decided to just do a pound of mushrooms. I'm just going to break them up because some of them are kind of big. We are going to do the same thing with these that we did with the onions. We are just going to let them cook and sweat out until they release all of their water. And then cook them until they're a beautiful brown. Not quite all the way cooked, but close. Because then we're going to add in our chicken. Building layer upon layer upon layer. So we're just going to let those go and move along. Okie dokie, our mushrooms are pretty much cooked, but we now have to cook our chicken in here, so I don't want to cook the mushrooms all the way. So I'm going to add in 3 chicken breasts. It calls for a pound of chicken. I just used 3 big chicken breasts in with our mushrooms, and we are going to cook this until the chicken is cooked completely through. Now, while I'm cooking this, I have some egg noodles cooking. It called for 2 cups of egg noodles. I think I'd probably put in 3 just to bump things up a little bit. And we're going to need those cooked at the end. That's why we've got them going now. We are going to season this with some garlic powder, salt, and pepper. I'm also going to turn the heat up because I want some good color on that chicken. I am using a dish that can go right from stovetop to oven. It is an enameled cast iron, and this way I don't have to dirty another baking dish. Okay, we are going to let this cook down, our chicken cook through, and everything to get all those flavors melded together. And once that chicken is cooked, we will start building our sauce right in here. And before we know it, it's going to be ready to go in the oven. Our chicken is done cooking, so we're going to add in 2 cups of chicken broth. We're going to bring this up to a boil and then turn it down to a gentle simmer. Okay, it's come up to the boil, so I'm just going to turn it down a little bit and let it simmer for about 5 or 10 minutes. That is not in the instructions, I just think that's what it needs to do. Okay, this was simmering for a little bit, so the next thing we need to do is just make our sauce. In my bowl, I have a cup of sour cream and a can of cream of mushroom soup. I use the Pacific Foods brand. It's a nice clean cream of mushroom soup, but I don't want my sauce to break, so I'm gonna add in a little bit of the hot broth into the sour cream and soup mixture, just to kind of temper it a little bit. I'm just off camera stirring it in. Just do a little bit more, and then I'm just going to add this in a little bit at a time. Gonna fold that, stir that in. Now, looking at this, and I don't know, I won't know until it's all done, I think it should have only been a cup of chicken broth, not 2, because I think it's going to be really, really soupy, but it still has to bake, and we still have to add in our noodles. So they could soak up definitely some of the liquid. Generally, when I make a recipe for the first time, I pretty much follow it to the T. I do wish I had put more mushrooms in it. Not gonna lie. And I do wish the sauce was thicker, but like I said, it may thicken up during the bake. You just want to get that really stirred well, get everything distributed evenly. You don't want all the noodles on top or all the chicken on top. You just want it really nicely distributed. So the next step, if you're using a baking dish, you can cover it with foil. Since I'm using this and it has a lid, I'm just going to cover it with the lid. We're going to bake it at 350 for 25 minutes. And then take the lid off and bake it an additional 10 to 15 minutes. But because it is only 1:30 and we're not eating this till later tonight, it is just going to sit and wait until Doug comes home to get that in the oven. So I'm hoping he remembers to film it for you when it comes out of the oven. If not, I will film it when it's on my plate later. We'll figure it out. I'll definitely show you the end result, and I'll let you know what I think of it since it's a new recipe. So here it is out of the oven. It doesn't look like the picture at all. I'm really not sure why you had to bake it. It really doesn't seem any different. It didn't get I don't know. It looks good. It smells good. But we'll give it a try, and I will definitely let you know. Okay. It was good, but I won't make it again. I mean, it was very good. It was delicious, but it tastes just like the other chicken stroganoff that I make on top of the stove. There's really no baked element. So I'll just keep making it on top of the stove with the recipe I already have. We all liked it, but Adam hasn't eaten yet, but I know he'll like it. It's up his alley. Andrew liked it, Doug liked it, I liked it, but yeah, it's just a whole extra step. So it was good, but we'll make it the old way. So friends, that is it. That is 5 meals that we had over the last week or two. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love you to hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys in the next video.